The Brand X podcast is sponsored by Audio Editing Solutions. Editing your podcast, just not your thing? Go to audioeditingsolutions.com and see how affordable professional audio editing can be. Welcome to another episode of the Brand X podcast. We are the BASF of podcasting. We don't make the stories, we just make them funnier. I'm John, and virtually alongside of me is my co-host, Deuce. And Deuce, you, my friend, are gaining traction in the podcasting space. You were actually mentioned on Monday's 3 Is Comedy podcast.
Wow. I did hear that, and I was joyfully surprised.
Joyfully surprised?
Yes. I was ecstatic.
Well, everybody, if you've listened to this podcast, you know that we're big fans of Jason, Mindy, and Bob of 3 Is Comedy. So this is what Mindy had to say.
He popularized.
Oh my God. It's so, you know what's so funny about you? You struggle with the reading, but yet you always pick stuff that's heavy reading.
I don't give a crap. I just read it. I just read it. I learn as I go. And you know what? Somebody else pointed that out.
Yes. Deuce on the Brand X podcast.
On the web,
Brand X podcast.
That one thing.
So Deuce, I don't give a crap.
Yeah.
I just read.
Yeah.
Go ahead and make fun of me.
He was making fun of John because John was reading very much like you do.
Yeah.
At the time. Butchering, what was it? Euthanasia. He was fumbling over that word.
But I think it's funny. They put an element of funny. Anyway.
They do.
Whatever, Deuce. Good job, John.
Good job.
So, what do you think, boy?
Yeah, well,
that shocked you when you first heard it?
Yeah, well, I was a truth in lending disclosure. I was like, I said that, and I was like, oh my God. I says, that wasn't really, I was nervous. I thought Mindy would be really, really mad at me because we taped that night that day. And I had just listened to their podcast, literally, and finished it up literally 20 minutes before we started our podcast. So it was fresh in my mind, that episode of theirs. And it was funny because Mindy was reading and she was, having a little bit of an issue there. And then when you went into your butchering of the word, I was just like, it was all fresh in my mind. It was like, oh, and I said, what I said. And later on, I was like, oh, you know what? And I was, I IM'd you. I says, oh, maybe we shouldn't put that in there. Because I, short of listening to their podcast, which I never miss, that's the only way I know them. I mean, I know you know them better than I do. And I was like, well, maybe that's really not my place. I was a wreck after that. I was like,
yeah. So to peel back the curtain, Deuce, because I said I'm leaving that in there. And Deuce IM me later and says, listen, I don't know if we should do that. I don't want to upset Mindy. And so I'm really going to peel back the curtain now. I kind of had a little fun with you because I immediately jumped on an IM with Mindy. And I said, hey, listen, Deuce, and I just told her the whole thing. And she cracked up. And I said, listen, if you want to make a response and send it in, however you want to do it, that's fine. I'll play it. I said, but I asked her permission if I could leave it in there. And she said, yeah, go ahead, no problem. So then she did that, and then they immediately sent me the audio. I didn't have to go get it. They sent it to me. So actually they were in on it, but I went over and I asked Mindy because you know what? We're here, we're trying to make comedy, and sometimes, we've never been trained. And I mean, they do their podcast live. He could actually edit that out, but he doesn't. Jason just lets it roll. And to be honest with you, it is actually funny. And I used to try to take out a lot of, what am I talking about? We already did the opening of the show, 5 minutes of the opening of the show, we scrapped it. But, normally I don't do that. I mean, I've been leaving more and more of my mistakes in there because I think it just adds a little bit of a comedic element to the show.
Well, what it is too. They are so fluid in what they do that it's as if I do know them, though I've never spoke to them.
Oh, hold on a second. Here comes Big T. What's up, Big T?
Fix the railing on the cellarway. That's fixed.
Okay, thank you.
Now I got to get this thing for the door.
All right, gotcha. I knew it. I knew it was going to happen.
Rush the mic.
Back in the day at DBK. Yeah, when I used to do the Monday night show, I would open up the mic, and everybody in the station would come rushing the mic, and they would stay in my. I could feel the breath on the back of my neck.
Don't pay any attention to that on the air light. Everyone in, everyone in. It's like a platoon of people. No, but I mean, as I was saying, just to finish up, I mean, what they do over at 3 is comedy. They're just so relaxed, and they're just so in tune with each other that it's as if I feel as if I do know them, though I've never spoke to them. So, it was a lot of fun. It was really a lot of fun because it just rolled off like it was like we were sitting at the bar like we used to back in the day, and we would say, "You go, Joe," or "You go, John," and it just rolled right out. Like, "You go, Mindy," and it was just like. And it was a lot of fun, but I was a nervous wreck. I really was.
As a podcaster, or even as in radio, one of the things is that you listen to somebody all the time, and so you get to know that person, even though they don't know you. They're telling stories, so you know everything about them, and they have not a clue about you. So it's a compliment, to be quite honest with you, to be able to feel that comfortable with those hosts. To be able to say something like that, it's like you're right. Like you listen to them 3 days a week,
yeah,
and you feel like you know them.
Yeah, because like I said, that day was like awesome because I had overtime that day, and I was driving home, and I was like, oh, cool, I can get to listen to this on the drive home, and I like rolled up in the drive, and then got changed and everything, and then I got all of our. So I had like I said, had just finished listening to that podcast, so it was really fresh in my mind. So when you started stumble bumbling all over that word,
well,
it just rolled right out.
And here's my problem too. I think I'm dyslexic a little bit. So when I read, I try to read when I'm reading, I try to read as I speak. And if it doesn't come as like the way I speak, I fumble over it or I miss words. I could sometimes I swear it was this word and I go back and look at it again and go, nope.
Let me ask you a question. Do you, because I need them, and do you need reading glasses maybe?
I don't think I need reading glasses.
Just to see what, because sometimes
for distance I need them, but not to. I can read.
I know you've got a larger screen than I have, but a lot of times I have to really blow things way up, and then with the reading glasses, of course, that helps. So I was just wondering if maybe that's something that you got going on that you're not aware of.
No, I go too fast.
Okay,
my eyes and my mind and my mouth don't connect. They're not in fluid motion. Like it goes from my eyes to my mind, and my mind says, "What did that say?" And my mouth had already said something. Are you sure about that? What's going on here?
I don't know. What are you talking about?
There's a pizza guy outside. He's going to go knocking on the door. That's not for me.
Well, that's my pizza.
There's a pizza and a sandwich. This guy said, "What is going on here today? I didn't order anything."
Big T ordered that?
No, but Big T's out there saying, "Oh yeah, he's in the back. Go ahead through." Look, listen, they're knocking on the window. Hold on. I didn't order a pizza. No, it's not mine. All right. Ask them how much it is. Maybe I'll buy it off them. I'm a little hungry. I've never had such nonsense doing a podcast.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, I see the car pull up. I'm nonchalantly looking at the car. I'm like, yeah, pizza guy. Then all of a sudden he's out. He's walking around like, he's got the pizza. He's walking around. He's looking, which door? Front door? Tony's like, no, you go in the back. I can hear it out of the corner. I can hear it in my ear. And then all of a sudden, I'm thinking to myself. So then he starts banging on. Tony starts banging on the window.
Is this from the Jimmy? Maybe he ordered.
Oh, it's the Jimmy's. It's my Uncle Tony, so it's to Jimmy's father.
Oh, okay.
It's the Jimmy. Oh, Jimmy, what do you do? What do you do? It's the Jimmy. Oh,
I talked to the Jimmy. I actually had a conversation with the Jimmy the other day. Yeah. Well, it was the Jimmy's birthday.
Yeah,
Happy birthday, Jimmy.
That. Happy birthday to Jimmy.
Yeah, it was on the 21st of August. So I actually made a video. What I did was I went and I pulled a bunch of pictures off because I didn't have any pictures. So I went and pulled a bunch of pictures off his Facebook, and I made a video on my iPhone. Like I have an app that you can make videos on. And then I tried to do the voiceover. I must have did. I'm not going to lie when I said I did over 20 takes. I would get to almost to the end, and I would screw something up, and I'm like, and you it's not like I could take and edit it and then put that in there. You just because it's on my phone, And I'm thinking to myself, was it maybe a minute and 20-second video? And I'm like, I can't do a minute and 20 seconds without screwing up. So anyhow, I wonder if I should put the video on the Brand X Facebook page.
And make the Jimmy famous.
The Jimmy's already famous.
Yes.
Everybody knows the Jimmy.
Does the Jimmy have a following?
Oh, yeah, the Jimmy. Jimmy has a following.
Yeah, you know how... Because you are a powerful man.
Well, you know how 3 is Comedy does the commercials. Right. And they always seem like they're, and I don't know if he makes them up or he gets them, or are they real businesses or anything like that?
Well, I like their one sponsor, Pussies and Bitches. That's
I miss Pussies and Bitches.
Ah, yeah, Pussies and Bitches. It's a pet store.
There we go.
So it's
the only, it was either that or a strip club.
No, I don't know where your mind is. Pussies and Bitches is a pet shop. So,
or maybe a hip hop record store. You think? So anyhow, I was thinking of, if we were going to do a commercial, the first fake commercial we would do would be the Jimmy's Landscaping Service.
Right.
Where we give 50% off to all single women. Our guys mow your lawn while the Jimmy takes and trims your bush. No? I don't know. Kind of really got off the track there, but I got things going on here. People are knocking on the windows. People are walking in the door, walking in the studio. The blog room is abuzz today.
Yes, it's you have a lot going on over there, apparently.
So, speaking of having more money than brains, were we speaking of having more money than brains?
No, we were just farting around.
This is a car wreck today. I don't even know if I could get this out of here. Where did my stuff go? Oh, there it is.
Changing the subject now.
By the miracle of editing, you probably didn't hear just what just happened.
Changing the subject now.
Right. So you put a story in here, and I looked at the article, and I got to tell you, I'm impressed with this. The title of this you put down is When You Have More Money Than Brains, but I mean, if you have the money for this.
Yeah. This is, this guy must have such an obscene amount of money, but what he did is he spent $1.5 million on a Star Trek themed Enterprise Bridge home movie theater.
Wait a minute. I thought that was his house, $1.5 million. No,
that's just the theater. Right. Yeah.
Turning his home theater into the USS Enterprise.
Yeah, he modeled it after the bridge.
Of the Next Generation, yes.
Yeah, pretty much. And there's like a video and they've got pictures. This guy's like he's a 48-year-old guy and he works for he's a managing partner of Mark Bell Capital and chairman of Turin Orbital, a company that manufactures satellite components for NASA. And he was also a producer of Broadway's Jersey Boys. And
okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, he has
more money than brains?
Yeah, if I was going to spend $1.5 million on my house, I don't think I would necessarily go this route. Now, who you sell this house to? How many Star Trek fans have that kind of money? This is what
not a lot.
Yeah, this is what I've always wanted. And he's got memorabilia. And just to tell you what he's got, it took him I think it said 4 years to build this.
I would imagine.
He's had over 3,500 films digitized, which are stored and streamed through a Kaleidoscope server. He spent approximately $35,000 on a Prima cinema system, allowing him and his family to watch films at home the day they are released in commercial cinemas. A wraparound control center surrounds the 11 custom leather chairs in the theater, 8 of which recline in the beds, while the doors that open into the theater are exact replicas of the turbolift doors as seen on the TV show. When someone steps on the circular transporter, the doors open for that familiar whoosh sound.
We talked about doing that,
Yeah.
How do you do that whoosh sound?
Yeah, well, I would just let the doors open that fast.
Right.
And, that would be awesome.
I bet you they use an elevator door operator to do that.
If you should put the link in here.
The links will be in the show notes.
Yeah, I am like a Star Trek fan, but I don't dress up as anything. I'm putting that out there. And
You don't have a red shirt? You don't have
No.
a Star Trek shirt?
No.
Now, would you be more? Do you say you're more of a Star Trek or a Star Wars fan?
See, to me, this is kind of like the Beatles versus Rolling Stones fans. I don't know why that is and why you're just not allowed to like them both.
Mm-hmm. You're allowed to like them both. It's okay.
Well, yeah, but some camps are like they're either, the Stones and the hell with the Beatles and vice versa. And there's like this kind of same thing with science fiction fans also with Star Trek versus Star Wars. I guess Star Trek was more immediate because it was on TV forever. So, it was always...
You say that, but it was, to be honest with you, how many episodes were actually put out? The first Star Trek?
78.
78 episodes.
Yeah, there's 3 seasons. See, I'm more of I like the original series and I like Next Generation, but I'm more of an original series guy.
See, I'm more Next Generation.
Right.
I don't know why that is. I mean, I remember seeing both.
Well, it was on longer. I think Next Generation went 7 or 8 seasons before they launched into the movies.
The one I really couldn't get into was Deep Space Nine, or what I used to call Space Mall. I didn't like that. I liked the other one with the chick.
Voyager,
the one that's she's in Orange is the New Black. She's the Russian kitchen worker in Orange is the New Black.
Right.
Kate Muldoon, I think her name was. Look at me pulling that one out.
Yeah. Pull that one out of your
Wow, that's amazing. I don't know. That just popped into my mind.
Yeah, she was also in, I think she was Mrs. Columbo. I think she was like one of those.
Get out of here. She was Mrs. Columbo?
I think so. She was on one of those.
She was a hottie back in the day.
TV shows back then. She was one of the. Remember that it was Columbo and McLeod, and there was another.
McMillan and Wife.
McMillan and Wife. They were like on that chat, whatever that show was called. It would air once a week, but they would rotate.
Oh, okay. You know what? It's starting to vaguely come back to me now.
Yeah, I mean, you're going way, way back. I mean,
right.
We're talking early 70s. McLeod would ride the horse down New York City streets. He was a cop in New York. But he was a cowboy.
Right.
So, and then of course you had Columbo. Columbo was, I think,
my
the most famous. Yeah, I think
he was my favorite.
Peter Falk as Columbo. It was a lot of fun, that show.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. Mm-hmm. So let's say you had some lady come into your store and she went to buy a lottery ticket, and she gives you the numbers, and you put the numbers in. She looks at the ticket, she goes, "That's not my number. I don't want this one." And then you take the ticket back, and it's $1, so you keep it.
Or you could cancel it.
But
most people will take them because lottery players are very superstitious. No, I'll take it. That'll be a winner if I don't take it.
Right. So you
never generally had to cancel too many tickets.
So it's a Powerball one. And let's say the Powerball goes off, because some of them get up to $400, $500 million. Let's say, let's go crazy. Let's say it's like $350 million. Mm-hmm. And that ticket goes off and you hit for $350 million.
Before taxes.
Oh, okay. So they take half in taxes. So that brings us down to what? $175.
Yeah.
$175 after taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you got $175 million. Oh my God. What do you do? I mean, after your divorce, what do you do?
What?
Nice guy.
That's a hell of a thing to say on my anniversary.
That's true. I forgot it is your anniversary.
Yeah, as we tape. Yes.
Well, when I used to play the lottery, and I used to tell my ex-wife, I say, "Boy, I tell you, if I ever hit the lottery, I'll give you the best divorce money could buy." And I meant it. We laughed about it because we knew that if we had that much money, we would split. But guess what? We didn't need that. We didn't need to hit the lottery. We did it anyhow. So I digress. All right. So you have all that money. What is your guilty pleasure? What do you spoil yourself with? What do you do? What do you buy? What do you make? What do you build?
Well, I would go right into cars. I mean,
I would imagine it would be a vet.
It would probably be, it would be multiple vets, and not only just vets, like some classic muscle cars and from, all over, maybe a 3086 Cord. I always thought they were neat. But you have to have a place to keep this stuff. So now you have to build a
yeah, sure. You got money.
You got to build a facility to store this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my dish of ice cream.
Okay, I have multiple dishes of ice cream. To be quite honest with you, it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. I know what I would do if I hit the lottery like that. I know what I would do for the first year. I would go and get one of those big giant motorhome buses,
Right.
like the tour buses.
Giant Winnebagos.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
But the NASCAR style.
NASCAR style, right? And in the back, I would make a studio, a podcast studio, or, I would have a podcasting studio in there, or some way of being able to have my podcasting equipment in there. And for the first year, I would start and I would go to every NHRA drag race. Mm-hmm. And I would go and I would just podcast about the NHRA for that one season. I would get a podcast and I would go and I would see what I could do as far as building an audience and doing something like that. And just go to every race, get there early, find out, talk to the drivers, interview the drivers, do reports after the race, after they do the, what is it called when I pulled Kate out my rear end and now I can't think of, it's not the eliminations. It's, I want to say time trials, but it's not time trials. It's where they qualifiers. Yeah, I would start at the end of the qualifiers and talk to people and stuff like that. And then, during the eliminations, and then I would just bug out and go to the next place.
Right.
The thing with NHRA is they don't have as many events as NASCAR. And then there's a lot of times there's 2 weeks between events. So you could get to somewhere like, I could get from Vegas to Chicago or Vegas to Florida or something like that. And just go out and do a podcast about that just for fun to see, because there's not a whole lot of people there. So it would be just a nice bite-sized piece of content that you could really sink your teeth into and see how it worked. So that would be the first thing I'd do. And then after that, I would try to figure out what I would do next.
Oh, the very, very first thing that I would do is get out of Jersey.
Really? Yeah. Where would you move to? Oh, that's right. You're going to Texas.
Yeah, that's where I want to go.
It's hot as hell down in Texas. You think it's hot here.
Yeah, like it's not hot here.
Not all the time.
Yeah. God bless Mr. Carrier and his invention.
Well, that's true. I understand that there's air conditioning, but still, you got to go out sometime. If you want to, if you want to sit in a house I have people that I know from Texas, like in the San Antonio area and stuff like that. And then, it gets hot and, it's humid there too. It's not dry like Arizona.
See, the weird thing is everyone says that. And yet all the states that everyone is running to retire when they leave the Northeast are hot states. But no one ever says I'm moving to Arizona. Well, it's hot there. Well, I'm going to move to Florida. Well, it's hot there. But for some reason, Texas, everyone, because you're not the first one to do that. Everyone, I was like, well, it's not hot in Florida. It's not hot in Georgia or Arizona or New Mexico, all these other states that people are flocking to when they retire.
I get it. You can go, if you had that kind of money, you could go buy a ranch in Texas, I'm sure. And, well, see, that would be a great place for me because, there's plenty of deer hunting and they got hogs down there. They're overrun with those, wild boar.
Hogs.
Yeah, that would be a blast, to be able to do that. So, I get it. Right. I'd probably head that way myself, to be quite honest with you. One thing about podcasting, I said this today, was that podcasting for adults, it's like you can still have toys, like you can still buy equipment and stuff like that. So, but down there you could have some real toys, like you need
a helicopter.
You need a helicopter to look at
to shoot at the hogs.
That's right, from a helicopter. Imagine that. Yeah, I'd end up flying into a tree trying to shoot a hog with a shotgun.
Did you ever see those videos?
Yeah.
Well, you don't fly the chopper and shoot the gun at the same time, unless you're hunting an Apache helicopter. But
could you imagine having an Apache helicopter?
Hogs, what hogs? Yeah, just like.
Oh my God, that would be funny.
Can you hear that?
What?
That?
No.
Okay, never mind.
What happened?
I'll talk to you later on.
No, you can't do that. The audience has to know now. What'd you do, fart or something over there?
Nah, I didn't fart. No, I just was playing some gun sounds. I was just wondering if you could hear them.
Oh, I can't hear it. See, we got to get it where you can play your sounds. Because I shouldn't be the only one with a soundboard.
Yeah, I've got a soundboard. You just can't hear it.
I can't hear it because... Why can't I hear it? Oh, because you only pick up your mic. We'd have to get you a mixer.
Oh, that's what it is.
I have a mixer. I have an extra mixer.
Right.
Maybe... See, what I was going to do with the mixer was move it downstairs, buy 4 microphones.
Right.
And set everything up where I have a double studio. So in case you want to come over here one day and we get the Donald and everybody, we could just, or anybody, we could just sit down, open up the mics.
Right.
And record and use it or not use it. Now I can't hear. That's a shame. Oh, now you took your headphones off. What'd you do with the... Now I can hear it. But then I can hear myself back.
That's how you shoot the hogs.
Right.
With an Apache helicopter. Guns.
Or this would work. You know what they do down there? They trap them. They put these big giant traps in there. They put corn. They trap them. And then
those things are a problem in not all 50 states, but 47 of them. We don't have them in Jersey yet.
Oh my God, I would love.
Yeah, they are everywhere.
They are so cool.
It only takes them a couple of generations, and they're like totally wild.
Well, here's the thing too.
Yeah,
you know, when you're out hunting them, they're hunting you.
Right. They're monstrous.
Yeah, and you better be ready.
Did you see that one called Hogzilla? I think it's still the record.
It was 500 pounds.
Oh, it was even bigger than that. I think Hogzilla was gigantic. Through the magic of Google. You will now research Hogzilla.
I knew there was they got over a 300-pound one. Okay, here's the thing. If you ever want to go to A&E.
794 pounds.
Get out of town. Where did they get that monster at?
It was Georgia. No, I'm going to go Mindy style.
What's that, Mindy?
Alapaha, Georgia. It looks like. See this goddamn Native American name, so can't be like Jones, Georgia.
Almost 800 pounds?
794 pounds.
That's the size of a bear. A very large bear.
And they got that in 2004.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it was a wild hog and domestic. It was a hybrid of wild hog and domestic pig that was shot and killed.
Imagine how much bacon and pork chops and sausage you could get out of that. Holy moly.
Here's another story. This is from 2007. Alabama boy kills 1,051-pound monster pig bigger than Hogzilla.
Wait a minute. Okay. I need the links. We'll have to go back and look at that because I got to see what these pigs look like.
Okay. Well, there's no picture on this one, but let's go.
Well, if there's no picture.
Well, there is one on the Hogzilla story, but if you go to images, these things are monstrous.
I don't trust images anymore. What you can do with Photoshop now?
Nah, these ones are pretty.
I just don't trust them. You know what I mean? You could take a 50-pound pig and blow it up and stick it next to a guy, and it looks like a 1,000-pound pig. I don't trust the images. Mm-hmm. Like I want it verified. Well, if there's a story about a guy in Alabama that shot a 1,000-pound hog and there's no picture, I call bullshit on the whole story.
Well, this one is a picture of Hogzilla, and he is chained by the back legs and held up by it looks like a John Deere
tractor,
front end loader.
Okay.
And the guy that shot him is standing next to him. So of course, with his legs stretched out like that, he's tall, but he's just as tall as this guy is.
I would imagine he had to be taller. I mean, I can't imagine. I would have to say that thing has to stretch out 8 feet to be that heavy.
Yeah, this guy looks like I don't know. It's judging by the tractor himself and this guy, he's a pretty stout dude, but he looks like he's maybe about my height. Mm-hmm. And so the pig's nose is touching the ground where his feet are, and then like where his back hip is at his head.
Yeah.
But like I said, the front end loader bucket is over that about another couple of feet. So stretched out like this pig is probably about 7-8 feet long.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And they're everywhere. These pigs they move.
Mm-hmm.
They just
they just and they tear everything up. They kill livestock. They kill cats and dogs. I mean, they're out there and they'll eat anything. That's one of the things when they do. They trap these hogs, and then they take them back and they put them in a pen, and then they feed them corn and stuff, so it gets the gaminess out of them.
Right.
And then they slaughter them and barbecue them and cut them up and eat them. They're good eating. Yeah, I don't know about 1,000. I don't know about 1,000-pound one, but the little ones are good.
What do you think? They'd be pretty tough. I mean, if they live older.
No, I'm telling you what. I'll tell you a story.
About a man named Jed?
About a man named Jed. No.
Picked up Granny and threw her on the bed?
It's all right. That's enough of that. I'm going to poke my eyes out after that image. I was down in North Carolina, and we used to have beagles that we trained trail rabbits. And in the summertime or in the fall, before rabbit season, we would just take them to competitions, and they would go and they would run rabbits, and they would score them on points. So I go down. We went to North Carolina. And usually they have lunch there and everything. So I said, "What's for lunch?" And the guy goes, "Barbecue." And I go, "Barbecue? Barbecue what?" And he goes, barbecue, son. Don't you know what barbecue is? I go, barbecue what? He goes, pig. Go out there in the back and look. I go out in the back, and they've got this, it was like a 175-gallon old oil tank that they cut in half, and they got coals on the bottom, and they got this pig that is
on the spit
and rotating around. So we go out, and the dogs go out to do their thing, and we come back. It's lunchtime, and I'm starving. So I said, okay, I want to buy lunch. He goes, well, did you pay for it? Yeah. And I go, yeah. I said, but I'm probably going to want more. So, how much? And he goes, that's for as much, son. That's for as much as you can eat. Go have at it. So I said, okay, well, where's the food? He goes, I showed you. It's right over there. I'm like, yeah, there's the pig, but where's the food? He goes, do you want me to cut the meat off the pig for you? Do I have to cut it up? Listen, these northern boys over here, they don't know how to get meat off the pig. I'm like, never mind, I'll do it. So I go over there, and you walked right up to the pig, and wherever you wanted the meat from, you just cut off the pig, and you wanted to cut off a 3-pound piece of meat if you could eat it. And they had this barbecue sauce. It was to die for. It was the best eating. They had potato salad, macaroni salad, barbecue, and cornbread. I'm telling you, Deuce, I could have sat there and
where was that at?
It was in North Carolina, but it was near the coast. I can't think of the name of the town now. Clinton. Why couldn't I think of the name of the town? Clinton, North Carolina.
Right.
And them good old boys down there, they had themselves a good old-fashioned dog trial.
We had the last company that I worked for, the factory was in Greensboro, North Carolina. And one year we had the sales meeting down there, and we went and had gone to the whole company, everybody, and we went to a barbecue. And I didn't know this, but North Carolina barbecue is different than Texas.
Yes.
I mean, it was good, but it wasn't the barbecue that I was used to. So to me, it was sweet.
Yes.
It's sweeter than like a Texas barbecue.
It has it's more vinegar, mustard.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain. I mean, the meat was tender. It fell right off the bone if you got like ribs or whatever.
Amazing.
But it just I just thought barbecue was barbecue, but apparently there's regional, like you have like pizza, and then you have that Chicago deep dish pizza, which
like
I hate.
Lasagna with crust.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. To me, that just tells me someone in Chicago didn't know what the hell they were doing, and they said, "Oh, this is Chicago style pizza."
Chicago's got everything. They got their own hot dogs. They got their own pizza.
Yeah.
Somebody should go out to Chicago and teach them people how to cook.
And make a pizza.
Send all your hate mail to hello@brandxpodcast.com.
But yeah, I mean, you just figure barbecue is barbecue, but until you go and experience it, it was just
there's Memphis barbecue, there's Texas barbecue, there's Kansas City barbecue.
I think the Texas and Kansas barbecue are more
beef
as a whole what people are familiar with.
I think it even has to do with whether it's pork or beef, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Like Memphis,
because if you get like the famous Dave's, the chain of restaurants,
right?
I don't know if you ever eaten in one.
Yeah, it's the Taco Bell it's barbecue. Yeah. It's the Taco Bell of barbecue.
It's the Red Lobster Olive Garden of barbecue.
Exactly.
Is what it is. So it's just like, but they seem to be more of the beef heavy.
I'm a fan of the beef ribs. Now, I have a cousin, Greg, and he has a barbecue truck, Uncle Greg's Barbecue. And one time, me and the Jimmy.
It's the Jimmy. Oh, Jimmy, what do you do? What do you do? It's the Jimmy. Oh.
We went up to Uncle Greg's Barbecue, and he had beef ribs as a special. Right. And they were the size, they were like Fred Flintstone ribs.
Ah, he's Japanese now. Fred Flintstone. Flintstone.
Meet the Flintstones. Yeah, it's like, you ever hear what I love about the Flintstone is whenever Fred and Barney got into a fight, it was this.
One of the funniest things I ever heard, I was in college, I guess, and we were talking about the Flintstones, and one of the guys said, I just wonder how long it's going to take before Fred beats the shit out of Barney. And one of the girls in the class says, I'm wondering how long it's going to take before he beats the shit out of Wilma. I was like, wow. Wilma's a bitch. That's what she was saying, and I was like, kind of, whoa, okay. But anyway, you were talking about the Fred Flintstone-sized beef ribs.
Oh, they were so good. Actually, somewhere on Facebook, there's a picture of the Jimmy eating at one of them ribs. And, it looks like, I Actually, it looks like someone smacked him in the face with it. Like he's got all the barbecue sauce all over him.
All happy.
All happy. How can you not be happy?
Yeah.
But
it's the ultimate.
Yeah. So, and Greg makes a really good barbecue. That's one thing about Greg. That boy can cook. He used to have a restaurant called the Spotted Cow up in Vermont. And then he decided to get rid of that and come back down here. And then after he got rid of it, like 2 years later, they had the big giant rainstorm and flood everything
Right.
And the Spotted Cow went under.
Ooh.
So I guess he got out in time.
Yeah. Wow, that's a shame.
I was looking for, I had somewhere. Where is it? So I have too many sound effects now. I can't find them. That's what drives me crazy. Like I know exactly what I want and I go for it and it's not there. It's not this one. But,
well, that was interesting.
Yeah, I had the Dino one and I can't find it. I'm looking all over here. Can't find it.
Now, out of curiosity, is it labeled Dino?
It is labeled Dino.
Okay. Good old Mel Blanc.
Yes. I completely lost my train of thought. We were talking about barbecue.
The Spotted Cow.
We were talking about barbecue and the Spotted Cow.
The Spotted Cow went under. Then you brought up Dino. This is why I'm here, everybody, because
this actually started about hitting the lottery. To be quite honest with you, that's how this whole thing started. And what would you do with
a guy's Star Trek theater room is how it all started.
And we ended up talking about barbecue.
If you roll it back, set the Wayback Machine, Sherman.
Oh my goodness! I think it's like too much of this. Now where did that go? Where did that go? Hold on.
Fuck.
Wow.
Here it is.
Okay.
My sound effects are organized like my life. They're all over the place.
What is the Potter family?
Hi, I'm Gareth.
I'm Bex.
And we're from the Gareth's Random Rambling Podcast.
This is Nick from the Epic Film Guys Podcast.
Hi, this is Leo.
This is Kitty.
This is Midgie.
Fez here. Cobra here.
And we're from the Afterburn 739 Podcast.
This is Octopus Caveman.
And this is the Green Korean.
From the Dave Podcast.
This is Paul from the Countdown Movie and TV Reviews Podcast. We are you. Podcasters coming together in a community to help one another grow. So follow us on Twitter at Podern Family and use the hashtag Podern Family in your tweets and retweet other people who do the same. Podern Family, where great podcasts come home.
The next story we're going to talk about is, I think it's propaganda, to be quite honest with you, from the alcohol industry, people who make beer and spirits. They are so upset about marijuana becoming legal. So they start this story. Is pot making the poor poorer? Duh. Is water making things wet?
Yeah, it's like a Captain Obvious.
Captain Obvious!
Yeah. Now, is this story regarded to actual medical marijuana or just people that are just potheads, like recreationally smoking?
Captain Obvious!
It is making America's lower class is poor and less responsible since they've legalized marijuana. How do they know this? And let me ask you this question. Don't you think that the lower class and poor people drink a lot of alcohol too? Don't you think they probably drink more alcohol than the middle class?
I don't know if they necessarily drink more of it, but I understand the crux of the argument here, probably because they always use it against tobacco. And
yeah,
it's regressive in the sense that if, like, the guy that has the $1.5 million home theater like Star Trek, if you drink or smoke whatever X amount over the course of the year, it's not going to make a dent in your pocket. But if you're making $30,000 a year and you're consuming the same amount, and it's a bigger percentage of your paycheck.
I certainly do understand that. But what I'm saying is,
I mean, I'm assuming that's where the crux is here. But whether they actually, maybe when you adjust it to their income, maybe it would appear that way. But I don't know. I mean, it's a pretty, because you have people that don't use anything at all.
I mean, I've seen stories where, like, they've legalized pot in Colorado and they've taxed it. And they're getting so much tax revenue from marijuana. They don't know what to do with it. It's coming in leaps and bounds. Wait for what?
Wait for it. Well, because that's the argument that the proponents of this is just tax it. You'll have so much money until they decide how they want to get rid of it, because this state or any other state has been taxing tobacco and alcohol, and they're always broke. So they just...
Oh, well, yeah, they're just going to... Of course, they're going to...
Because now hey, here's a brand new revenue stream so let's give this away to...
Yeah,
whatever.
Let's take this money. Yeah, because they don't know what to do with it. Like
we don't have a collecting money problem in most of the states. We have a
spending problem,
fiscal responsibility problem in most of the states.
Right.
That's what it is.
I would honestly be for legalizing marijuana through all 50 states. I know you're not allowed to do that. States have to ratify it for themselves. But if you could put a tax on it, and the states, they cannot spend that revenue on anything else except debt reduction until the debt is paid off. Like, in other words, you took money out of your state pensions and all that. That's all got to be paid back. That money can't go anywhere else until all the money that you've pulled out of places you weren't supposed to pull it out of, all that money's paid back. Then you can do something with it. Like, could you imagine if they did that and it was nationwide and let's say they put a federal tax on, I don't know, 3%.
Well, there is a federal tax on cigarettes.
Well, I'm talking about, okay. So,
and alcohol.
All right, so they're going to put a federal tax on marijuana and whatever it is, 3%, 5%. So let's say 5% just for a percentage. All right, so now they take it and they're going to be 5%. So now what happens is they can't touch that money. That all has to go back in. The first thing you do is you take that and all the money that they bilked out of Social Security, you put all that money back in there again. And I'm telling you right now, in 5 years, you'd have a surplus of, that would all be paid back.
Right. In theory.
Why not? Why is that in theory?
Because, as I said before, we've been taxing tobacco and liquor and milk and everything else, and we're always having bankruptcy issues, and they put the money aside. Did you hear the first part
of the conversation where they can't do anything until the money's put back?
And that's what they do, and they always find a way around that, because that's exactly...
It has to be the law. In other words, we're going to legalize it. And
what is the sale? Here's a case in point. What is the sales tax in New Jersey?
It's 7%.
Okay, and what was it before that? It was 6%. Before that, it was 5%. When we moved to New Jersey in 1969, there was no sales tax in New Jersey. And they put a 3% sales tax that was supposed to be temporary because it was going to help the children. It was going to fund the schools.
Oh,
right.
The education of our children.
That's how they get that demon in through the doors. They tell you it's going to be temporary and it's going to be for this. Well, here it is. Almost 50 years later, and the sales tax is 7% now, and we're still broke, and our schools are still horrible.
Right. Well, that's because of the cartel, the teaching cartel.
Well, I mean, it's not even. I wouldn't even. It could be just anything. I mean, you can say you're going to set this money aside, but what happens is people forget, and maybe the first couple of years, maybe people are paying attention, but. The politics, like look at the school tax. I mean, I didn't know we were going to go into this, but look at the school taxes in New Jersey. It's ridiculous. For people that live in other states, here's how it works in New Jersey. They'll put a initiative on the ballot that says we want to raise $40 million for the school district. And what happens is everyone runs out in New Jersey and votes no, because it's just graft and corruption, and it doesn't cost $40 million to like re-roof a school. I'm sorry, it doesn't. So what happens is everyone rejects it, and then like 8 months later, they just pass it anyway. So the will of the people means nothing as far as school bond issues go in the state of New Jersey. I don't know what it's like in other states, but that's how it is here.
I hear what you're saying, but sooner or later, we got to put our foots down. We have to put our foots
How many
down.
have you got?
Both of our foots. We have to put our foots down, one on top of the other, and say that's enough. All right, that's enough of this nonsense. And I think it should start with this. We again saying, so here's the problem.
Well, see, you're also laboring under the delusion that everybody wants drugs legalized.
No, I don't smoke pot. And if they legalize marijuana, I won't smoke pot. Okay? Now, if it was a pill form and it was for pain relief.
That type of use I am in favor of, because that would have to be regulated by the Food and Drug Administration.
Right.
I think the other states, that's just a front. they're just hiding behind the medical usage thing, and
Yeah.
And that's my opinion. Everyone's got one.
No, I understand. But here's the thing. Like I said, okay, we have alcohol. We tried the whole thing about banning it. Could you, first of all, if you take and you make it legal, it puts a big dent in organized crime because now it's legal. All right. You don't have to hide behind it. You're not, planting it between corn plants and stuff like that. Think of all the amount of drug enforcement that you don't have to worry about anymore, because they have helicopters and planes flying constantly over the fields of New Jersey looking for people that are planting marijuana between corn plants. Just think of all the money you don't have to spend on that anymore because people can now legally grow it.
But tobacco and alcohol are legal also, and there's some states that are cheaper than other states, and that's a big problem. Like here in New Jersey, where a pack of full revenue cigarettes are like $8 a pack now. Well, people roll down to North Carolina where there's no tax stamp, buy cartons and cartons of cigarettes, bring them up to these high tax states in the Northeast, and they're sell them.
Sure.
So there's a lot of enforcement wasted on that. And tobacco is a legal product. Same thing with alcohol, beer. Some states have higher alcoholic content beers than other states, or at least they did. I know a few of the southern states, like a Michelob up here would be like 6% alcohol, but some of the southern states had less than that. So if you wanted to get in a poker match against those guys, you bring full strength Budweiser down from up here and you get them hammered and you take their money.
Well, yeah, you could do that. That's true. But so what I'm saying is, you got to start somewhere. You got to fix one problem. Fix one stinking problem, then move on from there.
Yeah, but no one has the
that's that whole defeatist attitude.
I
can't stand that.
Well, because it's not a defeatist attitude. It's just
defeatist. Fix one thing. You got to tell them. You're telling me that with all the brain power around here, we can't fix one stinking problem?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Because no one has the withdrawal to see it
vehemently disagree with you.
Okay, show me a problem.
I'm saying it hasn't happened yet, but I'm saying it certainly can.
The only problems I can think of that we've eliminated was World War II, and that's pretty much the last thing we've solved.
Really?
Well, give me an example of something that the government has solved.
Oh, no, not the government.
Well, this is a government program. Get legalized pot, tax it, eliminate the debt. It doesn't happen. Private industry will solve problems, but the government won't.
Well, let's run it like private industry. Huh?
Well, you can't because we've got 435 people standing in the way.
Let's get rid of them.
Easier said than done.
No, it's not. Just lay them all off. Now you got nobody standing in the way.
Well, the only way you can lay them off is via elections, and that doesn't happen.
That's exactly
generally.
right. Hey, I was saying something the other day, and maybe I'm wrong, and you're the guy to answer this question.
No, watch me not know what
No, because I think I remember you mentioned this. On a general election during a presidential election, what percentage of the population votes? Is it less than 50% or more than 50%?
Oh, it's less, far less.
Less than 50% of the people, eligible voters.
Well, see, it depends on how they graph the numbers out, because if you're saying how many people 18 and above vote, you're going to get a different number. And the reason for that is not everybody 18 and above is registered to vote. So you have to take it, well, how many registered voters vote and how much of the population, you're going to get two sets of numbers.
Well, that's what I want. How many registered voters actually vote?
I'm going to go out on a wild guess and probably say it's like about 35%.
So it's not even 50%.
No, hasn't for
That's
forever.
Amazing. That just amazes me. You know who said, I heard this was going back years and years and years ago, who said they would fix this problem with one law, was Joe Walsh from the Eagles. Mm-hmm. He said what you do is everybody that votes gets a $250 tax break on their income tax. If you don't vote, you get a $50 fine. So, okay.
You can't, well, they passed law against that. That was the poll tax. That's what the southern states used to use to keep the blacks from voting.
What do you mean by that?
Well, see, back after the Civil War ended and they had full rights as a citizen, as an American citizen, right. A lot of the southern states passed poll taxes and literacy tests. And so.
No, you don't need that. You just need to be 18 years old, not a convict, And if you're that age and you're able to vote and you don't register, you get a $50 fine every year.
No, because it's your right not to vote. That's against your First Amendment.
That is
rights.
true. It is your right against not to vote.
See, that's,
Okay.
I just pulled this out. It says on Google. It says voter turnout in the United States fluctuates in national elections. In recent elections, about 60% of the voting eligible population votes during presidential election years. That's anyone that's eligible to vote.
Right.
Okay. So now if we go into, let's change this. Go ahead. You can continue and I'll.
Well, I guess that is right. You do have a right not to vote. I can't see why you wouldn't. Well, George Carlin said he wouldn't vote. He didn't vote because if you vote, you can't bitch. But if you don't vote, you can bitch because you didn't vote for the guy. So
yeah, so some people they wear it as a badge of honor
that they don't vote,
not to vote. I think personally myself, I think it's sad and somewhat disgraceful for the people in our armed services who died. So they have that right, not to vote or to vote.
They have the right not to vote either. It's the same thing with the American flag.
Okay, here says 42% of Americans voted in the that's the midterm disregard. Well, the midterms were always, so let's say it's going to be less than 50%, I think, no matter how you slice it.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, we got only a little bit of time left, and I wanted to talk about this one story. Did you watch any of the Olympics?
I saw very few. One of the things I did find out, the women's relay team, they won the gold. Mm-hmm. And one of the girls on the team went to my high school.
Get out of town.
Yeah, English Gardner is her name. So they won the gold. And she, I don't know when she graduated. She's a very young girl, obviously. Mm-hmm. All the athletes are. So, but she went to Eastern High School. So be true to your school. Go Vikings.
There we go. You didn't watch the race walking competition, did you?
No.
Well, it was a good thing you didn't. It's a 50-kilometer race. So, and what it is just a straight line. It's a kilometer up and a kilometer back. So it's basically a 2-kilometer track. They got to do 25 laps. And it takes about 3.5 to 4 hours to get through it. There's a lot of rules on speed race walking. You can't have both feet off the ground at the same time. 1 foot. You always have to have 1 foot, at least 1 foot in contact with the pavement at one time. And, your body's not really made to walk like that. They kind of swing their hips, as they're walking. And, it takes a lot of stamina. It takes a lot of practice. I mean, it's just not going out and walking fast. There's kind of like a.
Yeah. Plus, you're like in the blazing sun.
Right, you're in a blazing sun and stuff like that. Well, the shoe-in or the favorite to win the race walker competition was a Frenchman. And he had a little bit of a problem. I don't know if you saw the story. I put this up late. Mm-hmm. Hang on 1 second. Of 16,000 ads. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to sign in. Why did they do this now? Why didn't they do this one? I wouldn't even have put this story up here if now I can't. They won't.
Now you got to plow through a lot of
right
stuff.
Now they want me to sign in. I don't want to sign in.
So the guy's French, right?
So the guy is French. Now, no one can hear that. No one can hear that. Oh, for Christmas sake. Okay, I'll sign in, you pieces. Yeah, you want my email address? You're not getting it. All right, you got me to sign in. Now I got to enter my email. Hang on.
John versus technology.
Well, I mean, this is ridiculous. I want to read a freaking story. All of a sudden I got to put all this crap in here. You're not getting my read. I have an email just for you jagoffs. It's fu@gmail.com.
And why this is so funny is because the listeners can't see the look of exasperation on your face.
Now I go through the whole stinking thing, and it doesn't even take me to the story that I wanted in the first place. Try this again. There we go. Go ahead. One more pop-up. All right. A French race walker who was the favorite to win the men's 50-kilometer event on Friday collapsed on the course after suffering what appeared to be severe gastrointestinal problems. Yohann Diniz, I guess that's how you say his last name, who was in the lead for much of the race, went down 2 hours and 22 minutes into the event, which was slated to take about 4 hours. It was unclear what caused the collapse, but the athlete did not appear well for much of that time and complained of stomach pains. Just 15 kilometers into the event, the 38-year-old was spotted shoving sponges down the back of his shorts to soak up a brown substance running down the back of his legs. The weather may have played a role. It's currently 81 degrees in Rio de Janeiro with a humidity percentage of 65%. The 2 kilometer loop had water mist set up, but the athletes have been using at least as much water to dump on their heads. Diniz didn't stay down for long. With the help of race officials, the Frenchman who holds the current world record in the event got up and resumed racing. He hadn't recaptured the lead by the 40-kilometer mark. However, he was in 8th place, about 2 minutes behind the new leader. He would eventually finish 7th place. The 3rd place walker, I don't even know who this guy was disqualified for bumping into Canada's Evan Dunphy, who would take the bronze.
A lot of these sports, you're not allowed to make any contact at all in a lot of the events.
Well, you wonder where the American was? John Nunn finished 42nd.
Right.
So, yeah, but they have a picture of this guy. Like the picture, like he's walking, and you can see he's got shit running down the back of his leg.
Yeah. Basically, he got attack of like one of those life-threatening shits, like the kind that killed Elvis. So
I think it was the OxyContin that kind of killed Elvis.
Explosive diarrhea this guy got.
I'm wondering, like, shouldn't they disqualify him for, like, making a mess on the track? Why do you even continue to go on? Like, I mean, imagine, like, who gives him a sponge, number one? Who picks
a sponge?
Who picks up the sponge after he's done soaking up all that mess? Ugh.
Guess he did. I don't know. Well, a few years ago, this happens quite often with marathon runners. And you'll see them crossing the line, and they got all women, like, and I don't want to get too graphic, but women start going into like their cycle. Men and women start crapping themselves like this because the body's not meant to run like 26 miles.
Well, yeah.
And they have this one you wouldn't think. I mean, 50 kilometers. I don't know what that is in miles. I'll guess that's about 28 miles. I don't know. That's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah.
Where's Syria at? Let's ask
Syria. Oh.
How many miles is 50 kilometers?
31.07 miles.
31.07 miles is 50 kilometers.
Yeah, so I was close. I said 28.
Yeah, so it's not too bad.
Could you imagine walking like that at that pace for 31 miles? It's just like, this is one of those things like, who made this? Who decided this is a sport?
Well, there's a lot of sports that I don't like. Equestrian. Is that really a sport for the Olympics? I mean, I could see it for the horse, but the other person's just riding it. Now, I understand that it takes,
What was that?
What was that? It was a motorcycle that went by. Okay. All kinds of crazy things happening today in this podcast. This podcast has been jinxed from the get-go. But, he, and then he passed out. And then wait a minute, the guy shits himself. He passes out. What do? They don't rush out, take him to the hospital, see if he's okay. They get him up, put some gloves on, pat him on his shit-filled ass, and say, go get him there, buddy. And off he goes. Now, you know that on my other podcast, Off in the Weeds, we have what's called a Poo Haiku, which is where you take your last pants-shitting story or close call and describe it in 3 words or 3 short phrases. So what would this guy's be? Rio Olympics, speed walking, passed out. Or Rio Olympics, Rio Olympics, sponge mopping, didn't make it. Well, he did make it to the end.
I wonder what triggered it. I mean, because obviously he's the world champion.
So he's done this before.
Right. I mean, is it, I don't know.
Maybe the water? Maybe there was something in the water?
That's what I was thinking. Is it sort of like a thing like when you go to Mexico, like don't drink the water?
Well, I'll tell you what. I went to Cancun, Mexico on my honeymoon. Should have known the marriage was doomed from the start. So we go there, and all week you got to brush your teeth with bottled water. You don't drink no water anywhere. You don't drink any water unless it's bottled.
Right.
So we ate. I mean, the food down there was phenomenal. I like Mexican food, and it was just amazing to have real, authentic Mexican food. So we ate Mexican food every day that we were down there. We were down there for a week. The last day, we're walking around down there, and we saw a TGI Fridays. And I said, you know what? I said, I could go for a good old-fashioned American hamburger. So we go in there, and I ate the hamburger, and what I forgot was they put lettuce and tomato in there. They must have washed the lettuce and tomato in the water, and I ate the lettuce and tomato.
E. coli.
About 2 o'clock in the morning, I wake up with stomach cramps. I could just barely make it to the bathroom. I just get in there, and the thing about it was, not only was that happening, but I was like, I had to vomit, so I had to take the trash can. It's coming out, so I'm throwing up. So it's that, and
yeah, I'm sure the listeners are glad that they. Oh man, talk about Mr. Creosote action.
So, and the next day we had to fly out of there, and I'm telling you, I could barely get my head off the bed, and we had to make.
Yeah, that's no joke.
I mean, it was Deuce. I've never been so sick in my entire life. I was like, just leave me here, go. I don't know how I'll get home.
Well, when I sold cars, there was this guy who's funny as hell, and his name is Cliff
Clavin,
and he worked at he worked at one of the casinos, and he was there just temporarily until the Borgata opened up, and then when the Borgata opened up, he left. But we were sitting there, and he says, "Oh man, I got to start hitting the gym or something, man. I put on so much weight," and he was wearing this black shirt. Because back then, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire had just come on with Regis Philbin, and he was doing that mafioso look with the dark shirts, and that was like the style. And he's like, "Oh, I can barely button this shirt." I was like, So they ordered pizza and at some place, but it was my night to go home early. I said, "No, I'm good. I don't want any pizza." And I went home. Well, I was off the next day, and I came back Wednesday, and Cliff is like, got the complexion of chalk, and he's just leaning up, and he's pasty white and everything, and he's all washed out and everything. And well, here he's telling me, "Oh, I got that seafood pizza, and he got food poisoning." He says within 25 minutes after I left to go home, he got violently ill. He was doing what you just described, and then he called out sick the next day. And then he was wearing that black shirt, and I was like, "Wow, man, that was really." He says, "Yeah." He said, "I lost 11 pounds." He says, "Look," and he put all his fingers in the collar of his shirt, and he could like just wave around through there because he had lost that much weight. And, well, you don't have to hit the gym now. So, but yeah, that's no joke. I mean, something like that.
Sorry.
It's a shitty conversation.
Oh my goodness.
But
all right. Well, on that note, hey, listen, I'll put it up on the Facebook page. If you guys can come up with a Poo Haiku, which is a pants shitting, your pants shitting story in 3.
Is this guy all right?
Yeah,
he never
he's
even said anything.
I had a problem with my ace. I had a sheet coming out of my ace.
Because the picture of him just sprawled out on the tarmac.
There's actually...
It looks like someone shot him.
NBC Olympics, they have...
He probably wishes he would rather have been shot at
on the Twitter NBC Olympics, they have like a little video, and he's just like walking, and he just stops. His knees buckle, and he falls over. And it's like he died. It was like, you're right. It's like someone shot him. And he's laying there, and they run out there, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And they get him up, and he's just like, yeah. And he starts walking, shit running down the back of his pants. Ugh. Oh, my goodness. Only in America.
Well, only in Brazil.
I know. I'll be honest with you. From now on, they should only have the Olympics in a country
in America.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, I don't, not in a third world country like that. I mean, it was ridiculous. The whole Olympics was an abomination. To be quite honest.
Did you see the swim? We never talked about it. I wasn't aware that the swimming pool was changing colors. It started off like nice and clean.
And then it turned green.
And then it was getting greener and greener and greener.
Then they found out that whatever they
Next thing you know, you're in the Ophiekanofi swamp doing the relays.
Yeah,
It's
so
like,
yeah, there was a bunch of problems with it. They put peroxide in there, and then peroxide did something to the chlorine levels, and then the next thing you know, it turned green. So then they pumped in.
Probably turned into mustard gas.
They put so much
something.
chemical in there to try to turn it blue. But then in that diving pool is where they had the water polo events. And you got to be able to open your eyes under the water. And the people in the water polo events, like they were like, "Oh, my eyes, I can't see." It was like burning.
Not to mention how it's incredibly cruel to the horses.
Come on now.
That's an old George Carlin joke. I can't take credit for that. I can't.
All right. Well, let's wrap this thing up. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for this episode of the Brand X Podcast. And listen, we haven't had any iTunes reviews in a while. So if you're not doing anything and you wouldn't mind and you like the show and if you're still listening to this, you must like the show if I didn't scare you off with all the sound effects. So head on over to iTunes, look up the Brand X Podcast. Oh, you know what? Don't even do all that. Here, I did it real easy for you. All you do, brandx.com/iTunes, and they'll take you right there. You can rate and review the podcast, and we would really appreciate it. And you can find us on social media over at brandxpodcast.com/contact, and you can get our contacts there. And also, if you just look at your phone there and you tap the description on your screen, if you tap the screen art on your screen, there'll be a description there, and the links are right there. So it's easy peasy for you to be able to go over there and do all that stuff. I really appreciate you listening, and come on back for another episode of the Brand X Podcast.
You guys have a great day. We're not too far in to start over.
All right, 5-minute mark. We'll just do this whole fucking thing over again.